Hey guys, we're back with another episode of More Than, and today's episode will be with DeAndre Yedlin. DeAndre comes from the US and plays his football here in the UK for Newcastle United. A little side note, if you have seen our clip on social media talking about protests in the US a couple of weeks back, you can skip to 19 minutes in and enjoy the rest of the podcast. Hope you guys enjoy.
So my bro Yedlin is here today.
Yes, sir.
Second person that I've got in the podcast, and I'm really excited about this, man. How's it going? How are you?
It's going pretty well. I mean, obviously it's crazy times in the world right now. So, sometimes it can be a bit upsetting. But as far as getting back to football and playing and training and getting to see the guys again, it's been going really well.
Did you feel the same on like the first training session? Like everyone felt like it was the Champions League final, and the first training session, everyone was so recharged. First time like playing with contact and stuff, everyone was like just so into it, man. It was so good to see, at least for us, man. How was it over there? First training session back?
It's the same thing. It's the same thing. It's just like, like you said, everybody's just recharged, ready to go. Finally had their whatever break they had from playing, and ready to get back to it. So it was good, man. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, man. Well, let's get a bit serious, man. I see the T-shirt that you're wearing as well.
Yes, sir.
I mean, we cannot start this conversation without talking about the stuff that's happening in America. And obviously, this is really random because we planned to have a chat like more than a week ago, and this stuff just happened in the first week. But I feel like you're the perfect person to kind of like talk about it. You grew up in Seattle as well, which is like predominantly white city as well, for what I know of. And I just wanted to get your opinion and see how you're feeling about all this stuff, especially in your country and you being here, seeing what's happening. How you feeling, man?
Yeah, it's a bit tough, to be honest. Luckily where I grew up in Seattle, it is predominantly white and also Asian, but it's a very progressive city. It's a very progressive thinking city. So, a lot of the ideals and morals that I have today are, come from that city, and obviously how I was raised with my grandparents. So I'm fortunate to have been raised there, but that doesn't put aside the fact that I'm still a Black kid in America. And it's there. I mean, I put out a tweet today. I said I was going to get off social media till the rest of the season was over. But I put out a tweet today because I felt like I just couldn't really stay silent about this. And my grandpa texted me the other day, and he was like, "I'm glad you're not in America right now because I'd fear for your life as a young Black man." And I'm sitting there thinking, like, it's like he was born in 46, so he was alive when Martin Luther King, was doing all of his civil rights movement. Through some very serious times racially in U.S. history, and still 70 years later, he still fears for his grandchild that his life can be taken by, by unjust acts by the police, and that to me is ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, it feels like, I mean, I see it like in a way that for so many things in this world, we act or we think that we're moving forward so quickly, or we're getting better at stuff, but then when these things happen, you kind of feel like we're going backwards. And I got a lot of people telling me like, oh, it's not that we're going backwards, it's just like today there's more information and there's more videos and everything's more out there, but this stuff has been happening for years and years. And in a way that is right, it's not only now, but nowadays when everyone is just able to like record something, put it on social media and actually see like what the hell is going on. It's way more brutal than we actually
100%.
feel from here, and it's so scary, man, because as you say, that the fact that your grandpa has, he feels like he's actually relieved that you're not there. I don't think there's anything that speaks louder than that, man.
That's that's the thing. That's like, that's kind of been sticking in my head. This whole, basically since he texted me that, it's just been ringing in my head, and it's just like I can't really get over it, because it's like my home country, the country that I represent when I put on the U.S. jersey, the country that, I think there's two Americans in the Premier League right now, me and Christian Pulisic. So the country that, you know, I represent when I'm playing over here in England, and this is what people see. You know, it's honestly like this last week has been a bit embarrassing, because it's like you come into training and everybody's like, bro, your country is like in ruins and shambles like that, and I can't defend it, because it is. It's a complete wreck. It's complete havoc. It's and you know, as far as the riots go and things, it's like I'm definitely not a person to condone violence. I'm probably the last person to condone violence and rioting and all this, but I do have the outlook where it's like, what else do you do? You know what I mean?
That's how that is the way that they're responding towards you. So it's kind of like the only way that you can
exactly.
respond towards them.
I don't know. It's like I don't know what else people are supposed to do. And I know there's people out there that are out looting and you know, setting things on fire for the wrong reasons. They're doing things just to create chaos. I know that. But you know, the people that are actually out there trying to be heard, it's like, I don't know what else you're supposed to do, because you saw obviously Colin Kaepernick kneeling.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? People thought, okay, maybe that will bring a change, and you know, that dug deep in the hearts of, you know, the people who are the problem today. You know, that dug deep in the hearts of them, that people were kneeling during the national anthem. So you thought, okay, maybe, you know, that's hurting them a bit. This might be the change that we need. And then you have these acts like within 2 weeks of each other. You know what I mean? As I was talking to my girlfriend today, and I was saying, it's crazy because since George Floyd's death, it's like I've completely forgot about Ahmaud Arbery, who is charged. You know what I mean? It's like that's completely gone out of my head now, and it's like, as an American, especially young Black American, you kind of become desensitized to it. You know what I mean? It's like, wow, another kid died today, or another guy died today, and that's really sad, because it's human life, and it's the most sacred thing that we're talking. You know what I mean? It's the most important thing to talk about, human life, and we're desensitized to it because it happens so much.
And actually, I feel like this one got so big because there was someone recording the whole thing. It was 8 minutes. The guy screaming for his life. He's screaming, like asking for his mother that he had passed away. Like, it's just crazy to see. But then I read in an article in the New York Times that in the same week, there had been like 4 other murders. You know, it's just because they hadn't been recorded, or they hadn't been out at the way they were. People didn't know about them. And I was thinking, this is actually crazy.
And that's been the story this whole time, is that if it's not recorded or on camera or anything like that, it's swept under the rug. You know what I mean? And at the end of the day, what side are people going to believe? You know, a cop or somebody who they're framing to be a thug or a gangster or something like this. I mean, it's just ludicrous, and it's very sad. And I do believe that I think there will be change that comes from this, because I think with the younger generation coming in, I think the younger generation has a much more progressive way of thinking. You know, they don't have parents that, you know, were teaching them that Black people were inferior and this and that. You know, it's a younger generation. They're progressive thinking. They're, you know, you can just see it with social media and things like that. I think obviously back in the day, it's a bit harder to, you know, when you had a situation like this, to try to convince people that it was wrong, which is crazy to me. But, you know, I guess that's how it was back then. But I think this is the tipping point. I really do. And I hope it is. Yeah,
I hope so. And actually, I feel like in our industry, it's been the young people, the ones that they spoken out about it more, you know, like people like Jadon Sancho, Hakimi, like when they scored, or when you see on social media, is actually like, I even saw like Ryan Brewster, and sometimes I'm thinking like, where are the older players, or where are the older generation? Sometimes maybe something for what you say, like it was different back in the day, or maybe some people don't want to say the wrong thing, because I get that sometimes. I could say that I'm talking as an outsider, but not really, because I don't feel this is a subject that's only for Black people. This is involves everyone right now, you know.
100%.
And also what also frustrates me and is that this is something that happens all over the world. That has happened in the UK. It's still happening. but you see it in the US. But then you have a president that is not even asking for unity. He's actually he wants to stop fire with more fire, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And sometimes you don't really know if like he's doing that on purpose, or if he has like I don't really know what it is. We all know like the stuff that he's always been said, how his racial comments, etc. And we see this from the UK sometimes as like what is this guy talking about? Like it doesn't make sense to me that a president of like the United States, like the greatest country in the world, is saying these things that he says, and he's acting the way he's acting. And I feel right now what you need is for people to unite, because this is what people are doing in the streets, whether you're black, whether you're Asian, whether you're white, and he's responding with the wrong message constantly. So how are you gonna stop that?
It's I mean, that's the other thing that's been quite embarrassing, actually, and that's been for his whole presidency, is the fact that he's been elected. It's beyond me how it happened, and I know you can't really change the past, but it still is like, it's mind-boggling, the fact that he got elected. And you can really see now he is the worst possible person that we could have in a situation like this, because like you said, he doesn't promote unity at all. You know what I mean? It's almost like he wants diversity, not diversity. It's almost like he wants people to just be split. He wants to be two sides. Division. Which is it's crazy. And for a U.S. president, and such a powerful country, you know, the fact that is what's being said by supposedly the face of our country is ludicrous. And people, I don't want to say people are laughing at it, because it is a very serious situation, but so many, I mean, literally everybody I talk to over here is like, what is going on over there? Like, nobody can figure it out. How is this guy got elected? And two, the things that he says, especially over Twitter. You know what I mean? He says these things over Twitter, like a U.S. president is saying these things over Twitter. And I know social media is, you know, used in this day and age, and you know, it's a great way to connect with people, but he's saying very serious things. And if he's going to say those things, you know what I mean? You think he'd use a more serious platform than Twitter. You know what I mean? Things like that.
And not only that, and the things that he says, what he's promoting, whether he promotes violence, or there's like fake stats that he talks about. I mean, there's no person that nowadays you can think of as more influence. And you know, when you have that power, and even if you just have like 140 characters or whatever, you have to be so careful with what you say, because it's got to a point that Twitter had to put like a page before his tweet saying like, whatever the president is saying, it might not be right. Please make your research. Like, it's crazy that the social media has to say this when this is supposed to be the person that should have everything under control, kind of thing.
100%. I completely agree. And you know, like I said before, it's embarrassing having that guy representing us, and it's just chaotic and kind of a shit show right now, to be honest. I mean, it's been a shit show. It's just there's been a blanket over it, and now things are being brought to light. So,
It was kind of brewing, right? It's one of the things, like when you see like with Colin Kaepernick like kneeling down, and also like how the NFL responded to it, which I think it was like it was really wrong. And then, you know, it's kind of like these little events are happening, but it doesn't really like blow out. You know, you see a few people doing it and that's it. But I feel like right now, you know, everything has been like so in our faces, and that now there's no way out. Like this thing that people say, like being silent is actually siding with them, and that's how it actually feels. And because now you've seen like the gravity of the things that are happening, and there's no way you can hide it anymore.
You can't hide it. No, you can't hide it. It's I mean, like we said, nowadays with social media and everything, you know, like that blanket has now been taken off, and things are being brought to light. And you know, people that, you know, don't know America and maybe the problems that it has are very surprised by this. But especially as a young Black American, it's not surprising. It's what's been going on all along. It's just now people are more aware of what's going on. You know what I mean?
But you've been living that the whole time, huh?
Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm not going to say that I've been, chased down by police and handcuffed and this and that. But there are real problems in America, like big problems, big problems, especially between, I'm not even going to put Black people in this. I'm going to put minorities in this. Between the police and minorities. And, when I tweeted something, my girlfriend's reading me back a tweet today, and some guy had put some statistic about you have less chance of, or you have more chance of being struck by lightning and being killed by the police. Wherever you got a statistic, being Black and being killed by police. And it's like, there's a problem with that, because one of those things is Mother Nature. Another of those things is somebody else, another human, taking the life of another human unjustly. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
At the end of the day, if lightning strikes you, you don't have a choice. You know what I mean? It's unlucky. And as a Black person, you know what I mean? As a Black person, when you're faced with the police, it's also sometimes how it feels. You don't have a choice. You know what I mean? It's you see. I think the kid's name was Dylan Rofe or whatever, who went into the church in Charleston and shot up all the Black people, and you saw how he got arrested. You know what I mean? Calmly on the ground, everything like that. I don't even want to think. I don't even want to think about what would happen if a Black person or a minority went into a white church or a predominantly white church and shot up you'd be shot on sight. No questions asked.
Or even the white people protests where they were like all heavily armed. Yesterday I saw a video that a white guy, that he was no police, he was nothing. He had like his rifle and everything. And the police said very respectfully, please get out of here. When we all know that if that was a Black person, that's not the way that police would have responded.
No, not at all. Not at all. And when people say that it is equal and there is no white privilege, they're talking bullshit. And they know it. They know it. But some people are just so close-minded and so blind to the fact of what's really going on, which is really sad, to be honest.
Yeah, man. I just wanted to kind of like, you can add to it after, but I just wanted to send a little message because a lot of people think that this is a minorities issue, and I want to make it loud and clear that this is an issue that involves everyone. And as I said before, when you are silent to this, you're siding with them, and it's important that as white people and people of privilege, we can call it, to do everything we can, whether that is donating, whether that is marching. Now there's times of coronavirus, so some people can't feel it's not safe and stuff. There's a lot of information out there on how to do it and what the marches are like. But also most importantly, I think is to educate ourselves.
100%.
To read about it and to not, you don't have to make it. You don't have to tell Black people to educate you. You should to educate yourself and research and read books and I think something that we need to accept sometimes is that sometimes we can, when you cannot consider you don't consider yourself a racist person, but sometimes you can say something racist without realizing. And if someone calls you out, you don't need to try and prove why you're not racist. What you have to do is listen and educate yourself and say like, okay, why is this affecting you? Okay. And listen to people. And that is the only way that as privileged white people, you can move forward into the goal, which is like equality in all senses and everyone being educated in the same way. And I think it's important for everyone to actually at least do these things because the gravity of the situation right now is really, really big. And as I say, it's not a Black people or a minority problem. This is a whole issue that involves everyone in society, man.
100%. A great message.
Bro, I wanna take this to the side a little bit and just chat with you about you, because that's the whole reason why I wanted to have a chat with you, because there's so much more about you than football. And I've been trying to do my research before the podcast, and man, I want you to, I mean, a lot of people are gonna know who you are that listen to this, But yeah, tell me how you started playing football growing up
Okay.
in the US, and how was it for you then after coming here and stuff? Just like a brief story, yeah.
So I was raised by my grandparents, and my grandparents had obviously they had a kid, and I grew up with him. He's 9 years older than me. His name's Dylan. He's my uncle, and he kind of, because my father was never in my life, so he kind of became that father figure, big brother figure. Would take me everywhere. And growing up, he played soccer or football, whatever you want to call it. And I honestly, I just wanted to be like him. So I decided to take it up when I was young. I think I was 3 years old. Decided to take it up. He was my coach, and my grandpa was actually my coach, which is funny. But yeah, so I just took it up, and I was always quite good at pretty much every sport I did. Because I was always very athletic, and when you're younger, usually athleticism will get you quite far. But just as I kept going, it's like just soccer was what I was the best at, and decided to stick with it then. And worked my way up to the national team or youth national teams and national teams, and playing the MLS. And then obviously got to move over to Tottenham. And it was at the time, it was like probably felt like it was like the worst part. Like really, if I dive into that moment, it's like the worst part of my life. Like I wasn't prepared for it. Two, I wasn't, I just didn't know what to expect. You know what I mean? And when I got there, Kyle Walker was there at the time. I don't remember who else. But yeah, Kyle Walker was obviously the number one right back. And, I wasn't playing at all. And in training, I was playing horribly. Off the field, I was just kind of doing things that weren't me, you know what I mean? Going out, and, I've never been a person that goes out really, obviously occasionally, but so it was like a time that was like, it was a bit depressing, honestly. I remember calling, my grandparents and telling them I want to come back, and calling my agent, telling them I want to go back to MLS and this and that. But I obviously, looking back on it now, it was probably the most important point of my career, because it was, the point where I hit a wall and then had to figure out on my own how to overcome that. And it's those hardships and those sort of times, that you look back, and and those are actually the times that are probably the best time. You know what I mean? It's like, when you really had to struggle with something, or I'm sure like when you came back from your injury, and you know what I mean? Then you get to play, like you're playing again, and, people are counting you out and things like that. It's like, it's an unbelievable time to be able to, overcome a hardship. So it was actually probably the most important part of my career. And from that's when I really started getting into, like, I noticed there I was very mentally weak. I could feel it. And that's when I started really getting into like mental training and goal setting and things like that. So yeah, it was a very important part of my career, I think.
What was in your opinion, like now looking at it a bit from the outside, obviously coming from the MLS, which obviously is a league that the level is improving every year. I feel like, there's better players that go there, there's more incentives, and it's more attractive every time. But do you feel it was also due to the level? Because actually, I saw you playing with Seattle Sounders a couple of games and stuff. And it's a league that is so different. And then for you coming here, also you were really young. How old were you when you came here?
Yeah, it's 21.
21. And then obviously you come to a team like Tottenham, Kyle Walker's playing. Do you feel like the level was really different, and you kind of weren't expecting something different, or what was it?
So when I said I wasn't prepared, it was kind of on a big assortment of things. I think that was probably the main one, is the level was, I didn't expect it to be, that high. And like you said, the MLS is growing every year, but it's not near the Premier League right now. It's not anywhere near the Premier League is the greatest league in the world. And it's like the level was so high. And then I came in January as well. So I was coming off the back of like an MLS season. So trying to fit into a team that's already kind of made, you know what I mean? And I just, it was, I didn't really get going, you know, when you kind of find that momentum. So.
And you came by yourself?
Yeah, I came by myself.
Because that has a big impact as well. Like, people don't realize that. Obviously, you're playing so well in the US, but people don't realize you have your family close. You know, you're in the country that you're born and raised, and then you come to a new country. You're young. You know, you don't have your people close to you. That has like way a bigger effect than people actually think. Like, football is not just the level that you have 100%. To be able to reach that level. There's so many conditions.
100%. Yeah, that's exactly it. It's like, you know, I spoke a lot about this, and it's a fact that, you know, people think, for instance, Di Maria, when he came to United, you know, obviously he wasn't at the level that Di Maria was when he was at Real Madrid. Do you know what I mean? So and people look at it and say, oh, well, what's happened to him? There's a lot of other things surrounding a player's performance other than just playing. Do you know what I mean? So that was another big thing for me. It was a lot to take in. It was a lot to learn. It's pretty much the first time I'd really been on my own, because I was on my own in Seattle, but I had my mom there. You know, my grandparents were there all the time. My friends were there. So one call, you know what I mean? I could have a home cooked dinner. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Whereas now I'm alone, and you know, I'm alone. I'm in a new country. Obviously, the level as far as football goes is crazy high. As far as what I was used to. So yeah, it was tough, but it's like, you know, I'm sure you can.
Yeah, and also you're young. You know, you
well,
need to understand that you're young. You're 21, coming to a new country, and then, as you say, there's so many other things that are involved in the whole process. One thing that I wanted to ask you about you being raised in the US. Were you on the Junior Olympics as well, or did I hear something like that?
Yeah, so I ran track. Yeah, so the Junior Olympics, I think I made the Junior Olympics for the long jump. Actually, that was what I made in the event. I made it. Yeah, this is a long jump. I don't know. I don't remember. I didn't finish in a top place or anything, but it was like it was an amazing experience, because I believe it was at Hayward Field, which is a track facility, University of Oregon. And I actually just read a book during this quarantine called Shoe Dog, which is basically about the creation of Nike. And that was a prominent place in that book. You know, that's where Bowerman, who is a co-founder, and Phil Knight obviously ran there at the University of Oregon. So obviously I didn't realize at that time, because I didn't know the story behind it. But now reading this and being like, wow, I actually competed there.
That's sick.
Crazy. Yeah, it's a crazy thing to think back on, to be honest.
Yeah. So going back onto Spurs and you know, the mental health issues that you get going through, I think people also don't realize that this is something that is way more normal than people think. Sure. And it's true that in the past few years, people have started talking about way more. But as footballers, this is sort of like our daily struggle. Yeah. Because there's not many footballers out there that are always at this level. You know, if you go maybe like Messi or Ronaldo, but everyone else, they always go through ups and downs. And what was it that got you out of it and make you enjoy? Because I would say right now, in the past 2 years, you've been enjoying your performances way more, and you feel more like yourself. Was there a turning point for you? What was it that got you out of it?
Yeah, so it was after, so I did obviously the rest of the year there at Tottenham, and then I went on loan to Sunderland. Mm-hmm. And there I kind of found my form a bit. I think Dick Advocaat was the coach at the time, but obviously Sunderland wasn't in a great position. So he quit, or he left, and then Sam Allardyce came in. And at the start, you know, I was playing under Big Sam and, you know, doing pretty well. And then I remember there was one game where the team wasn't doing well. I wasn't doing well, and I got pulled after 20 minutes. He subbed me after 20 minutes, which as a footballer, you know, it's humiliating. You know what I mean? At home.
Yeah, it's probably nothing worse than that. Right?
There's nothing worse. So it was like humiliating, and especially you know, the fact that I was on loan. It's like, you know, when you go on loan, you're going on loan to play. You're not going on loan to be pulled after 20. So so when I came off, you know, it was tough for me, and I could feel myself going back in like this little depressive state. and I pouted for a bit, probably like a month and a half, till finally I was just like what the fuck am I doing? Like I'm on loan here. I'm on loan to play. You know, I have a great opportunity. Let me think about like what am I really struggling with? Like why don't I try to dig into my weaknesses and figure it out? So then I literally, well, that's what I told you. Mental health. I realized, not the mental health. Sorry, my mental strength was just it wasn't there. You know what I mean? Especially playing in the U.S. The other thing, playing in the U.S., it's not the same type of pressure that you feel in England, as far as the fans go, as far as the media goes. You know, the pace of the game, everything. There's a different type of pressure that you feel here, and obviously in the U.S., there's no relegation. It's in every sport. You know, so you can finish last and you get the first pick in the draft. So you're rewarded for being in last place, which it doesn't make sense, but that's another story. So then I was like, all right, let me go into the mental strength side of things, and I literally just went on Amazon and typed in books about success. Like that was it. And I'm not a reader. Like I read now, but at that point I did not read. I hated reading. All through school, everything. I typed in books about success. A book called Maximum Achievement by Brian Tracy was like the first book that showed up. I was like, whatever, let me try this one. Clicked it, came 2 days later, and it was a book about goal setting. And literally I made like a commitment to myself. I said, I'm going to do every exercise in this book. I'm going to, you know, do everything it says and see what comes of it. So I started doing everything, you know, little by little. Training started going better. Games started going better. I remember, I think I came in against Liverpool. We were down 2-0 against Liverpool, came in. We ended up drawing 2-2. The next game I played against United, we won 3-2. And then I said from, you know, like I made, because I was making like weekly goals, 2-week goals, month goals. I said I'm not going to come out of the starting lineup for the rest of the season. And that was one of my goals. And just kept reading my goals every day, this and that. And, you know, everything kind of flowed right through, you know, like you know, where everything just seems to work out. Like, I feel like it's just working out. And that was the feeling that, so then from there, it was very good, because obviously when you feel success, it makes you want to keep doing those types of things and whatever got you to that point. So, you know, I just kept with it. And obviously another thing is like age and experience, you know, that's obviously another huge part of it. But that was kind of like what really got me out and what really got me kind of on this path to, you know, just being a bit mentally stronger, because you need that for England. You have to.
I think so. I was very lucky myself. When I was like 15, we had this coach at Barcelona that he gave every player a different book. Yeah. And I was like, why do I have to read? Like everything that I ever practiced was about technical, you know. Exactly. And then he gave me this book. I think in English it's called like, Who Took My Cheese or something, which is a book about change, right? And in that year, I was always a right winger, and that year he played me on the left wing, which like what a change now, playing right back. It wasn't really working out over there. So at the beginning, I was really struggling because my left foot wasn't really good, and you know, I couldn't really cross with my left back then, and all this stuff. And I was like, you know, that book really made me stronger. And just at that age, I started to realize the importance of actually being psychologically strong and ready to play. And actually realizing that football, it's played with your feet, but it's really played with your mind, right? 100%. And I feel like very lucky, because even though I obviously, like you say now with the injury and stuff, I've been like through loads of struggles throughout my career already. But at least I knew from early that, you know, knowing that having the right mindset or the right focus is what helps you get there, you know, and it is so important. And sometimes it doesn't matter whether that is goals or whatever, you know, as long as you have a purpose kind of thing. It's always it's always the way forward, and that's what gets you out of like the hole like where you were. And I'm really happy that you got out of it, and now you have that experience now for the rest of your career, you know.
Exactly. And like, I think another thing that I'm quite excited about is, you know, whenever at some point, if I have kids, to be able to pass that down along to them. And, you know, because like you said, at such a young age, you learn that, you know, the mental side of things is is huge. And that's in any aspect of life. You know what I mean? It's not just sports, you know, in any aspect, the mental side is an incredibly important part. So to be able to pass that down to them and be like, you know, like you said, what's your purpose? What do you want to do? What's your passion? You know, whatever it may be, you know, follow that and look at it every day, you know, really become engulfed in it. And that's a great thing, because I think if you're not here to help the youth and help the kids who are going to come after you and things like that, you know, it's really no point, to be honest. But
for real. Now that we're talking about mental health, I remember because me and you, we talked on Instagram, right, a couple of times, and then before doing the podcast I went on it and I saw that your profile didn't show up, and then that's when my friend gave me your number, and I was like, bro, like where's your social media and stuff? And you were like, oh, I took it out because I want to focus on training and stuff. With, like, for me, I think it's great to see someone doing that, because as I told you earlier, I don't have social media on my phone. You know, I only have it, I only check it like once a day or something. So why was that choice that you made important, and why do you feel like, you know, if you want to be focused, social media is not needed and stuff? Take me a little bit about the thought process of you doing that.
Yeah, so it's actually quite interesting. I think, did you see the Last Dance documentary?
I haven't watched it yet, man. Everyone's like talking about it.
Yeah.
I'm the kind of person that when everyone tells me to watch it, I never watch it. I always
watch it. No, it's definitely good. It's very good, and it was quite inspiring for me. But one of the things it said in one of the last episodes is that Michael Jordan always had this thing about being in the present and always living in the present. And when he played, he was always in the present. He's never thinking about the past, never thinking about the future. And I like try to look at myself like realistically, and was like, to ask myself, how much do you actually live in the present? Like, how much do you actually realize what and are aware of what's going on right now? And if it was to be graded, I'd have a horrible grade. You know what I mean? It's like, I don't live in the present. And I think a big part of that is social media. You know, you're always, you know, looking at it's not so much what's going on, you know, in the future or in the past, but also what's going on with other people and this and that. And
outside.
And outside, at the end of the day, the most important thing is, it sounds selfish, but is yourself. You know, if you yourself aren't self-aware and strong and, you know, have a good self-esteem and things like that, you can't really help other people. You know what I mean? So I was just like, you know what, let me turn off my social media for these last 2 months of the season. And it was kind of like an experiment. I'd actually thought it was going to be quite hard, but I've enjoyed it a ton. You know, it's like, it was getting to the point where I was waking up in the morning and without thinking, subconsciously, without even thinking about it, I was rolling over and my thumb would go straight to Instagram. You know what I mean? And I was like, that's not a way to, you know, that's not a way to live. And it's not that I'd even be looking for stuff. I would just be scrolling and not realizing what I'm looking at.
Like a zombie, right?
Like a zombie, you know what I mean? And you realize you waste so many hours of the day. Like, I was looking at my screen time, and it's like, you don't even want to say it because it's embarrassing. How much you're
I feel you, right?
Yeah. So, you know, I decided to get off that. And, you know, I've also been doing meditation a lot. And that's also helped me a ton. I think meditation is key it can help anybody, you know, and I would highly suggest it to anybody who wants to try it. But you know, having that, you know, taking that option out of my life to just be able to go on my phone and, you know, now I have to figure out, okay, what am I going to do with my time? How am I going to be productive? And that's an important thing. You know, I think a lot of people look at footballers and they think they play. And it is true. You train for 2 hours, 3 hours, you go home and you have the rest of the day. And I don't want to be spending the rest of the day playing video games or scrolling on Instagram. Like, I want to be productive with my time. You know, we're in a fortunate position to where, you know, we have time that a lot of other people don't. So I think we should be using that wisely and doing something. I'm lucky, probably going in, what would be your next question? I'm lucky to have found my passion, and, you know, it's, you know, something I can work towards with this fashion. I found that very young. So I'm fortunate for that. But so that's really what, you know, I've been spending a lot of the time that I would have been on social media. That's what I've been doing, is focusing on fashion.
I think one of the things that you said that I read about is like, one of the reasons why people go on social media is because they have fear of missing out, you know, and you want to know why everything is going on, but you're missing out everything that's in front of you.
Exactly.
You know?
It's right in front of you.
It's either you have to choose, you want to choose what everyone else is doing, or you want to choose what you're doing. And it's very clear, because like, you know, even like if you go for a walk outside and you just on your phone, you're missing the sunset, or you're missing, you know, like whatever it is. And sometimes
100%.
One of the things that well, I've said it a few times, I love taking pictures, right? So one of the things that I love about taking pictures is that when I go walking, like in the street, I'm constantly looking, because I in my mind, I'm like, oh, that could be a good picture. That could be a good, you know, so I'm like noticing things around me that I had never noticed before, kind 100%. Of thing. Whereas like, if you're just on your phone, or you're missing all of these things. And the reason why I also took that approach to social media, because I was like, okay, the only reason why I have social media really is for my job. You know, it's because also I want to, for my opinion, because I feel giving your opinion helps raise awareness, helps debate, 100%. Helps moving forward. But at the same time, I'm not a person that posts about my private life. I don't want people to know what I'm doing, what I, 100%. You know, unless it's something that is part of my job, or part of what I do. So I decided the same. I'm like, I'm going to have social media. I'm looking at it as a job, you know. I'm going to go on it for like 30 minutes every day. Check like if I have messages, talk to people, connect. I'll scroll for a bit, or like things that I want to, because a lot of the information you get nowadays, you get from social media, right? When you have your Twitter account, and you'll have loads of news and stuff. And sometimes it's good to use it. But it's true that when I had social media on the phone, it was the same. Like, you go on WhatsApp to reply to someone, you come out, and then you automatically go on Instagram, and it's like, what was I doing here? Like, why did I come here for?
What was I even doing? Yeah, exactly. That's it.
So no, it's really cool that you're doing that, and I think it's a really healthy, a really healthy way of kind of looking at it, because I feel that also nowadays social media is something that footballers or athletes or people in our position, we have to deal with, that people back in the day didn't have to. And it can be really positive at times, like when you're winning and you're playing well, everyone's like praising you and stuff, and you feel like you're the king of the world, right? Also, one bad game, and you go from being the best player in the world to be the worst player in the world. There's never an in between.
There's no in between.
There's a world of extremes. And extremes are not good, because
no.
I'm not the best player in the world, but I'm not also the worst player in the world. That'd be someone in between, you know. But with social media, that is how it feels. You feel you're either the best or the worst, and that is the reason why I think like lots of players and people in any walk of life, they struggle, because it's so hard to really feel like who you are, because you're always here or there, and you're never really here. And
100%.
when you feed off the positivity, then after, when the negativity comes, it's so hard to take.
100%.
So many issues come from it, man. So yeah, well done you for doing that. Now that you talked about fashion, I want to hear it, because I think there's a really cool story. I think it has to do something with your tattoo as well, with your like, great grandfather and stuff. Tell everyone about this, because I thought it was really, really cool.
Yeah. So well, I have tattoos everywhere, and a lot of them actually commemorate him. But this one, I was like, I wanted to get a tattoo on my neck, and I wanted to be something that I wanted everyone to see. You know, stuff on my chest or whatever, it's, you know, it's covered all the time. But I wanted everybody to see this. I wanted everybody, you know, I wanted it to be like, wow, like very powerful. So my great grandfather, who is probably one of the most respected, like the men I respect probably the most in my life. He had the first, like you guys, or not you guys, but in England, they call it like smart wear. So like suits, you know, he had the first one in Phoenix, I believe, Arizona. And actually catered to a lot of high profile athletes and things like that. In the store, the name was the Gentry. So that's, you know, that's the reason for this. Gentry means royalty, so I also have a crown under there. But I think it goes a little bit deeper than obviously just a store name. You know, obviously, I think it's crazy. I didn't really find out that fashion was my passion till probably 19 years old when I first turned professional. And I think it's very interesting that, you know, a man who I respected like a crazy amount, it was also his passion, and he was my blood. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I felt like I had to put that here. I felt like that's always gonna be a part of me, you know, whether people like it or not. It's always gonna be a part of me that, you know, I can't let go of. You know, it's just it's ingrained in me. And I remember posting on Instagram. This is another reason why I had to get off. And so, you know, somebody said, "Oh, why are you getting a neck tattoo? What do you think you are, a gangster, or a rapper, or this and that?" And you know, like the inner me, I responded, and then I was like, "What am I doing that for?" You know what I mean? I'm like, "What am I doing that for? Why would I respond to something?" Because it made me so angry that because you're seen as an athlete. You know what I mean? You have to look like an quote unquote athlete, which is, it's because what does an athlete look like?
Yeah, you know we put in a box, and we feel like they feel like everything that you do outside the box, then you're not an athlete anymore, or you're focused on other things. And actually, everyone is their own person, and people don't 100%. Really know why the reason why you have it. And talking about social media as well, it's like some of the issues with it is it gives a voice to everyone. Yeah. You know, and there's people that respect it, and there's people that love it, but actually the loudest people, they're the ones that always have like something mean to say or something. And it does hurt sometimes, but there's always a story why you do stuff like this. And that's one of the reasons why I also wanted to do this, you know, because there's so much more to like actually that what we do. We're not a footballer. We are a person that plays football. Yeah, with so many other things in the background, right?
Exactly. And it's like, you know, with all of my other tattoos, like every single tattoo that I have is a meaning. You know, you can go through every single tattoo on my body, and I can tell you exactly what it means. And for me, it's like I want my tattoos to be able to tell my story without me having to speak. That's kind of the idea behind it. You know, I think that's what, obviously people get tattoos for whatever reasons, but I think for me, that's what a tattoo should be. You know, it should tell your story. And one of the things when I was younger, my grandma told me is, I don't care if you get a tattoo. And like, as soon as she said that, I was like, oh, wow.
I'm going to the shop.
Yeah. I was like, oh, no. But she was like, you just have to make sure that it means something to you, that's meaningful. And so I've kind of like said to myself, anything I get now will either be about my family, about myself, or about my passion. You know what I mean? Because those, other than that, what do you really have? Maybe obviously friends as well. But, you know, other than that, you know, what else do you really have? So
and they're all things that like mark your life, right? And I think it's really cool you say like you can tell your story by just reading your tattoos and stuff. And that is something that when I got all of mine as well, it was always very meaningful. And I have to say, like I think it was like 6 months ago, I saw a tattoo that I really liked, and it didn't mean anything. And as a little boy, I was like, yo, I want this. Don't worry, I will find the meaning, you know? When people ask me, I'll be like, I'll find the meaning. Don't worry.
I'll put a meaning to this.
Because I feel like it also is a bit of an addiction, right? Like you get your first one, and then you're like, oh, shit, this looks so cool. I want another one. I got my first one when I was like 15, I think, as well, really early. And then my second one, I told my mom that it was going to be really small, and I came home and I had half a sleeve. She wanted to kill me. And but then since then, now she's like, oh, I love it. You should do this. You should do that. So I think it's also a way, like I always feel like, you know, same as you're a blank canvas, you know, and that is your way to like show the world who you are. And I think tattoos are seen like in a very different way than what they're seen before. But it's like everything. And more conservative people that look at them differently.
Exactly.
And understandable.
And I think sometimes that's the problem is, you know, people are so old school in their thinking and so because the people who complain about it are the older generation. You know what I mean? People complain about Pogba having a hairstyle or, you know what I mean? People dancing for celebrations and stuff like that. It's an older generation. You don't see any of the younger generation you know, making a problem out of that because people are finally showing their personality. We're not robots. You know what I'm saying? People are finally showing who they are. And for whatever reason, people don't like that because it's probably not who they are. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and also something new, right? I think like people are also a bit scared or a bit uncomfortable with change. And like back in the day, every player used to kind of like be the same, and you used to be different just by like the stuff that you did on the pitch, whether you were a very good player or not, or like you used to tackle really hard, and that's what they know you for. But then now, people are just shining as well because of the personalities, or because the other things that they do off the pitch. And I think like some people are not really comfortable with like or switching in a different way, which for like later generations are also, I can get to understand, you know, because when you tell someone that is 80 years old to like change the way they view the world at their age, sometimes it's like, no, I don't want to do that, you know. But I think like, as you say, with like younger generations, everything is changing and people are more open, and it's so cool that you can see people voicing more the personalities or the way they are and stuff. And as you were saying, so fashion is linked to your blood, to your family, with your great grandfather and stuff. This is something that I relate to personally as well, because
I've seen that.
My grandmother and my mom have always done it. Do you feel like it's something that has got you closer to your roots, and it's something that is giving more meaning to, like, because you can obviously enjoy clothes, right? And that's the way that I started getting into it. But then I realized that me and my mom started making clothes together, and you know, we had something else that we could bond through. And actually, it's something that is so cool that I enjoy, and there's so much to know about, and it's actually getting me closer to my family. Do you feel like the same way?
Yeah, I like, my family story is very interesting. You know, I have obviously my mom and my grandma and my sister, my cousin, my uncle, not the one that was that my grandparents had, but another one. My family, kind of when I was younger, got split into two a bit. You know, there was some tension between them, and you know, it's eased up a bit, but at times I feel like, you know, I'm the glue that's kind of, you know, holding family together. So I think definitely with this, because there's not really anybody else in my family that like loves fashion. My mom maybe, but other than that, there's not really anybody else that loves fashion. But I think the meaning, like, the name of my brand is Roselle, and I chose that meaning, or I chose that name, because it's like, when I was younger, I probably, as most kids did, I hated my middle name. Like I hated it. And I thought it was girly and this and that. But like, as I got older, I learned to love it and embrace it. And that to me is, it's like me learning to love and embrace myself and who I am. And that's what I want this brand to be. You know, I always tell my girlfriend, like, whenever I release this, I don't want this to be known as DeAndre Yedlin's brand. You know what I mean? I want it to be known as Roselle. Like, and I just want that to like exemplify me. I want that, you know, to kind of be a light of who I am, but through the brand. I don't want it to be known as, oh, that's his brand. So I think in a way, it's nice to see everybody so, as far as my family goes, so like interested and focused in what even though they're not into fashion that much, so interested and focused into what I'm doing, because it's something that, you know, represents me. And, you know, obviously they're excited to see that.
Yeah. So with your brand Roselle, I heard like you've been working a lot during quarantine and stuff. Like, how far are you through with it? Are you close to like launching your collection? In what stage are you at, man? I'm interested in it.
So do you know Ugo Mosey? You know Ugo Mosey?
Yeah. He was Justin Bieber's stylist as well, right?
Yeah, exactly. So I came to him like 5 years ago. And I was like, I want to start a clothing brand. So when I was really I have no idea what to do. Honestly, I have no clue the steps. I just want to start a clothing brand. He was like, all right, well, do you have a creative director? I was like, I don't even know what that is. You know what I mean? Like, So he's like, all right, let me help you through it. I'll, connected me with people, this and that. Finally, we got first samples made, but we made those probably like 3 years ago. I got two or 3 years ago, I got those. And it's actually just this quarantine, which is like, this quarantine's kind of been a blessing for me as far as, finding myself. Because like what is it? I was looking through the collection and I was like, this collection's not really me anymore. You know what I mean? Like I had designed it, or me and Ugo designed it like 5 years prior or 4 years prior to this.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? And it's just, it hadn't really moved. It moves along very slowly. You know, it's quite tough just because obviously he's in LA and I'm over here, and he's also obviously has other jobs. So like to move things along, everything I did would have to be through him. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes he'd be working on other jobs, the time difference, things, for whatever reasons, it just didn't move along. So we have, like in the basement right now, we have like a first sample from like 4 years ago.
Yeah.
But then during the quarantine, me and my girlfriend, who I'm actually involved in the project now, I was like, we had designed a couple of things. I'm learning how to draw a bit, and I drew some pieces, and I was like, yo, we should have this for the second season, you know, for this, wherever the second season is gonna be.
Yeah.
And then I just thought one night, I was like, you know, the collection downstairs, that's not really me anymore. You know what I mean? Why not just the stuff that we created have as a first season? So now I'm going back. I'm trying to make the tech pack right now for everything. Yeah. And then hopefully, like one of the hardest things for us has been like finding manufacturers. And now that coronavirus has happened, it's like, you know, what happens with that? So it's been quite a challenge. But you know, a lot of the books I've been reading and things like that have just been talking me through the process of how everything works, because we're literally going into this like completely new. So so now we're kind of back in square one, but I'm like very happy with what we have now. So I think that's the most important thing.
Because it's such a big process, right? Because I've also like had so many people ask me like, why don't I do my own brand and stuff like this? And sometimes like even with my mom, like we make us these things and I'm like, yo, we should make this and stuff. Yeah. But I feel like that you don't really, when you say like 5 years ago, you ask Google, like, I want to make my own clothing brand, you don't realize the amount of work that there's behind it. And that's one of the reasons why I never did it, because I feel like if you want to do it 100%, you either need help, like you have from Hugo, you have from like your girlfriend and stuff. Yeah. It's so difficult to move this forward because, you know, you need to draw, you need the tech pack, you need to go to the factory. Sometimes, you know, you need to get the fabric and then send it back and see which one you want to choose. There's so much in this process that is so hard. So, mate, like, well done for like being able to do that, and because it's really, really, really hard, and there's so much work behind the scenes. And if you are able to like do both things at the same time, that is 100%. That is proper focus, man. And how is she like getting involved in the process as well? Like, what did she help you with? Like, does she have a creative background as well and stuff?
Yes. So she, like, the first picture I ever seen of her was on Instagram. Crazy. And she was wearing like, honest to God, like she was wearing an outfit that I noticed first before like even seeing her. I was like, wow, like she looks dope. You know what I mean? Before actually seeing like, oh wow, she's very pretty, this and that. It was her outfit that like caught my eye. So I knew from there, obviously I started looking at her page a little bit and like obviously saw she could dress, like had crazy style. So I've always been attracted to girls like crazy style. Like I love it. I love, you know, especially when it's a bit of their own. They have their own little flair. Like I love it. It's like it's unique. You know what I mean? So no, she definitely has a creative background, but she's never done anything like this. So we're both kind of going into it new, which is actually quite nice. Of course, both kind of starting fresh and bounce ideas off each other like crazy. She actually we bought a sewing machine like 5 months ago or something, and we just opened it during the quarantine. And she's been sewing a ton. I don't know if you heard of a Cricut machine, but it like it can like cut fabrics and like we've been making stuff downstairs, and it's been. Have you
gave it a go to the sewing machine? You need to try it.
So
that's one of the things that I learned when I was really, really young. Because I had so many in my house, and then now when my mom comes, she does all the pattern cutting and stuff. And I go on the sewing machine, and I'm always like going over and stuff. But it's actually really cool, and it's something that honestly, it focuses so much in the process that I used to do it after games. You know, when you're like insomnia and stuff, because you're like still like adrenaline. It's so relaxing. It's so cool. Man. Honestly, you should try.
No, I was actually the first one that like tried to use it, and
Yeah.
I think we cut up. I found like old shorts and like some old pants, and we tried to make like a tote bag. I remember. And it didn't end up working, but you know, at least we tried. But she's been making like, she made a dress. Well, not she like put some pieces together to make a dress, and like I want to get to the point where I can make my own samples. That's the point I want to get to. Like I want it to be the only thing I need in the process is to have a factory for like the mass producing of things. But I think if you can, you know, you can get to the point where you can literally do everything. My dog is going crazy. If you can get to the point where you can literally do everything, you know, that I don't see why you wouldn't try to get to that point, you know, where you can try to master everything.
For sure.
Obviously, it's hard, but it takes time. But, you know, especially during this quarantine, we had nothing but time. So,
no reason. No, but it's so cool that you're starting together from scratch, you know, and you're learning a few things. And then when you start doing all the factory process and stuff, like it's going to be like new stuff again. And it's so cool to experience like stuff the first time. And when we did the collaboration with 424 as well, like seeing the whole process and like from like your drawings to actually like the first piece that you have in your hands, you're like, whoa, whether it sells or not, it's something that you kind of like
it's something that you created.
This was from here, it's going to here. It's so cool to see.
Exactly. No, that's dope. And I saw you styled the women's team.
Thank you, bro. The production, well, I have an agency with my best mate, and we like a creative agency in sports. And Guillermo wanted us to like do the whole shoot and stuff. And I was saying to my friend, like, you know, let me just like creative direct the whole thing. Like I know what Guillermo wants, kind of thing. So I kind of picked like the players, the women's players that I wanted to shoot and how we could do it. And the only thing is that we only had 30 minutes and we had to do it all so quick. And I was taking pictures digital. I wanted to take some film pictures as well. So it was all like a bit of a mess as well. But
it's a mess,
cool. But it's always cool to like, you know, like,
was that
involved in things that you have not done before and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was gonna say. That was your first time doing that.
That was my first time. And actually, they've asked me for a couple of magazines to do a couple of photo shoots, like actually take pictures and stuff. So that's something that got cancelled because of quarantine. But man, I'm just really excited about stuff like this because I feel like that. Obviously, I'm not the best photographer or anything, but you know, we all have like a different creative standpoint, and maybe
100%.
You know, when you have like you with Hugo, when you have like right people around you, it just makes the whole thing just like way cooler, you know, like collaborating with people, and like how you have with your girlfriend right now. It's not the same like one pair of eyes than two, and that's really cool, man. And I saw that you guys have been cooking as well, been doing some vegan stuff. Like tell me about it, man. Have you gone fully vegan now?
Yeah, I've gone fully vegan. I haven't really been cooking a lot. She's doing all the cooking, but it's like it's been crazy. Honestly, it's been nuts. It's like I told we actually have one of my friends who's here as well. He's from Argentina, and you know how it is over there. It's like steak, meat, 100%.
Yeah.
And he's actually gone vegan with us as well.
No way.
Yeah, he's been with us this whole quarantine. And he's actually gone vegan with us as well. And I'm like, yo, if somebody from Argentina, you know, where it is like it's just meat, bro.
If you tell him vegan, then you know what you're doing, bro.
That's what I mean. And it's like, I feel so much lighter. I feel so much better. I sleep better. I have way more energy. You know, my body looks much better. And then obviously with the things that she's cooking, it's like, I don't miss meat one bit, not one bit.
There's so much more to it than you actually think in the first place.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah. And it's like she just made cheese the other day, right, for the first time.
Oh, wow.
And it was like I hate vegan cheese. I can't stand it. But it's crazy. Like it's crazy to think like you know every single ingredient and the process that it's taken to make that. You know what I mean? Whereas everything else, you know, you buy it from the store, but you don't even think, you have no clue what it's been through. You know what I mean? Yeah. But it's so normal to like us as humans now, you know, just go and pick something up and assume that it's all good, but you really have no clue.
Yeah, it's truly like that. And I'm starting to plant my own stuff in the garden, bro. I'm learning how to make my own bread with fermentation and stuff. That takes
Oh,
2
wow.
weeks to make a loaf of bread and stuff. So, but it actually makes you appreciate the whole thing, you know, like you buy it
100%.
from the shop and it's like, you don't really know like what you're putting in your mouth. But then when you have to make it at home, it actually takes 2 weeks to make like a proper loaf of bread and stuff.
Crazy.
But yeah, it's actually amazing, bro. But yeah, what was it that made you change? Was it like one of the documentaries? Was it just like
yes,
you started researching?
I think it was we watched Game Changers. It was back in November. And I don't want to say it was all that, because I had gone vegetarian like a year before that, I think. No, 2 years before that. Sorry. I'd gone vegetarian.
So you haven't eaten meat in a long time then?
Well, I went vegetarian, I went back to meat, and then went vegan. Okay. So it was like I had like basically all three different things. But I switched to vegetarian. What was the other documentary called? Other Game Changers?
What the Health?
What the Health? Yeah, I switched to vegetarian because of that. And with vegetarian, it's like, you know, it's obviously all right, but you know, I still like, you can't find something to eat. You eat French fries, or you know what I mean. It's like I just feel like it's so much unhealthier than just going like fully plant-based. Obviously, you got French fries being plant-based as well, but I feel like you just have a different understanding of what you're eating. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, so then I watched Game Changers, and I was like, I don't know, it just boggled my mind. And whether, I know there are some people coming out and saying some of it wasn't true, this and that, but I don't really care. I was like, let me just try it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
because at the end of the day, it's how you feel. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's like, and she did it with me. She was vegetarian as well for a long time. But then she went vegan with me, and obviously it helps when you're doing it with somebody.
Of course,
And yeah, it's literally just been like a steady process. Like, you know, at first it was quite hard because, as you said, you know, it can take 2 weeks to make bread. So like, that's like the convenience side of it. It's not obviously as convenient as eating meat. Because you do have to pretty much make all your meat. At least in Newcastle, there's not a lot of vegan restaurants at all. Here in London, there are tons, but you know, there's not a lot of vegan restaurants up here. So it's really just making our own food, figuring out what to eat. Then I actually found a chef over here that delivers vegan food. So been having him, and then she cooks. My girlfriend cooks on the weekends, and so it's been a nice process, and I feel like unbelievable. You know, since I switched. Felt unbelievable.
It's so true that so many people say like, oh, some of the stuff isn't true. I always hear about, why don't you try it? Because that's what happened to me.
Yeah, exactly.
I wanted to try for 3 weeks. First week felt good. I remember the second week I felt a bit tired, and I was like, I don't know if I was because of the food or whatever. But then the third week I just felt amazing, bro. Like I was waking up in the mornings, I felt active.
Fresh,
I always had problem with my ankles, and you know, they weren't inflamed anymore. I didn't have to play with strapping. Like there were so many things that changed. And I also felt like the recovery in between games was way quicker and stuff. And then when people ask me like, would you ever go back to meat or anything? I'm like, I feel so good, man. Like, why would I go back to something that, not even just for the taste, you know, because at the end of the day, especially in our position, you have to be 100%. Your body has to always, like, it's your temple, you know? So if you feel that this is making you go 100%, like, why would you go back?
Exactly.
Yeah, it's getting better. There's more information all the time. There's more like meat substitutes and stuff that you can try and things like that. And I feel like more and more athletes are getting more into it, man.
100%. I mean, you see, like, I think during this, during the coronavirus, because you saw in stores, all the meat was gone. So people are like having to be like, okay, well, what else do I eat? You know what I mean?
I have to try the vegan stuff.
Yeah, I have to try the vegan stuff. And I think that's actually because, you know, I know a lot of people that have not gone fully vegan, but have gone definitely a lot more plant-based just because they can't find meat in the stores. You know what I mean? Which is, I don't know, that's I think a good thing, but.
Yeah, no, for sure. At least because sometimes you just need to try it, you know. I always
you just have to try it,
I have a chef, and sometimes when I had friends over, something that I tell in my family always when they come here is like, in my house you cannot cook meat, you know. So if you want to come to my house and stay here, you're welcome, but you have to eat plant-based. That's it. If you want to go for like eggs Benedict or whatever, go somewhere down the road, but not in here. So sometimes when my friends come, I tell my chef to make like, I don't know, like vegan nuggets or like vegan burgers and stuff. and sometimes they don't even know. They don't know.
Exactly. That's
And it's so cool to see. And like, obviously some of the stuff is like really processed and stuff, and I only have it at the weekends or something like as a treat. But it's true that, you know, technology also with the things is going forward a lot, and it's making it really easy for people, because also like for the environment, animal welfare, like there's so many other things, you know. I started because of health, like you, but then after there's so many other things that, you know, by following a plant-based diet, you're actually helping. So it actually makes me feel much better, like mentally and morally.
100%. Yeah. I mean, that's one of the things that is going to be a part of our clothing brand, is that everything is going to be vegan. Like, you know, there won't be, you know, nothing with animal cruelty or no animals used. So it's another, you know, cool thing. But yeah, it's interesting what you say. Like, people don't know, you know. I think so. The chef that makes the food also makes, you know, meat dishes as well, and delivers it to some of the players. And there was I remember we were sitting at the table before a game or something, and, you know, I had a dish, and it was literally the exact same dish that the other player had, but theirs had chicken and mine had tofu. Yeah. And I was like, you know, could you ever try vegan? He's like, I can never go vegan. And I'm honestly, the only difference between my dish and your dish is that yours has chicken, mine has tofu. It's like, is it that, do you like chicken that much to the point where, you know what I mean? Like, I think another thing is people think, you know, you say eat vegan, all people think is like, or the response is, how can you just eat plants? Like,
there's a stigma towards it, right? A little bit. Yeah.
It's like, it's so much more than just like, like leaves. You know what I mean? It's so much more.
One of my teammates as well, he's like a proper like meat eater. And you know, when I go have food with people, I'm not someone that cares about what other people eating. If you're eating chicken next to me, I don't mind. Like, it's your choice, whatever. I had been eating meat for like, I don't know, like 20 years of my life. So, you know, it's only fair that, you know, they can do whatever they want anyway.
Yeah.
But, when I invited home a couple of times, and he had food and stuff, and then literally this morning, he's like, you know what, I'm thinking about going vegetarian. And I was like, how are you going to go vegetarian now? You're literally giving me all the talk every day about how you could never do it because you love food so much. And now you're telling me this. And he was like, yeah, I've been trying and I feel good and all of this stuff. And I was like, you know what? I'm not a person to preach about anything, but when people, you know, you show them things and you don't pressure them and stuff, they're like, ooh, this looks good. I think I could do this. I can get used to it. And it's a cool way also for, like, you know, for them to try, and whether they become vegan at the end of the day or not. There's a couple of players in my team that now they do like 3 vegan days a week, for example, which I think is also like a good start, because
it's great.
You know, it helps inflammation and helps everything. So yeah, man, it's a new wave, and I think like hopefully more people can get on board, because I feel there's only benefits to it, you know, whether that's 100%. Like physically or like
100%.
And before we go, bro, I want you to tell me, because you just said that you've been reading and stuff. What books have you been reading through quarantine, man? Any recommendations or anything?
So as I told you, Shoe Dog, you know, that was one that really inspired me. I think the other one that really really inspired me was Relentless, which is I don't know if you read it. It's with Michael Jordan's trainer. Just kind of talking about his mindset, and like, you know, I started reading that when obviously The Last Dance came out, that documentary. So those, I would say, have you read Shoe Dog?
No, I haven't read it. I know what it is about, but I haven't read it. No,
you should definitely read it. It's it's amazing, honestly, just to see, like, because for me, I feel like I can kind of connect a lot with him, because, you know, he started this thing. He's seemed to be a very creative person, had this crazy idea of, you know, first he wanted to bring Japanese running shoes to America. And obviously whatever worked out financially, this and that. And at the end of the day, he was like, screw this, I'm gonna do my own thing. And, you know, created an empire. I don't think he knew he was gonna become that big, but, you know, created an empire, which was, I don't know, that's kind of what I'm looking to do. Like, when I'm in fashion, like, obviously I love fashion, but I consider myself more as like a creative person rather than just fashion. Like, I love music, you know, I love art, things like that. So I definitely don't want to just, after my career, contribute to my life just to fashion. You know, I want it to be to tons of creative things. So yeah, that was a very good book. And then obviously Relentless, just as far as I read just a lot of like mindset type books. And strength, mental strength type books. So
I think it's so cool what you said, because I feel like fashion as well took me in that same kind of path, in like which you realize that fashion is just the medium, but being creative is like involves so many other things. Now I've just gone crazy about furniture, bro. I feel like I want to make my own furniture and stuff like this. Yeah. And I, I always like to paint and stuff like this, and obviously clothes and art and photography. But it's kind of like when you start with fashion or whatever it is, then you start to explore that all the things are so interlinked in so many other ways, but it's all kind of like part of the same process, from having something in your mind into creating into something. And it's really cool. Now that you're talking about your brand, bro, I'm going to recommend you one book. It's called Fashionopolis.
Please. It's called what?
Fashionopolis. I'll send it to you on WhatsApp. It's by Dana Thomas. And basically, like for example, I haven't bought any clothes in the past 6 months, bro, because I'm like, I'm very big on like the whole sustainable thing and like conscious living and all this stuff, and like reusing all the stuff that I have. And so now that you're gonna start like embarking in this project of like going to the factories and stuff, it's a really cool book, because it actually talks to you about everything that goes behind the scenes in like the fashion industry. Like for example, you can make clothes cheap, but if you buy something that costs you £2 and is made in Bangladesh, that means that someone in the process is not really getting paid. And there's people working like 16 hours for 50 cents and stuff like this. And it's also like, and there's so many things behind it and so many ideas in like how you can make your brand more sustainable, or like just, making the right choices, because it's very hard to be 100% sustainable nowadays. The only way to do that would be to have your own farm of cotton, take the cotton, then make it in your own house and then sell it there, that's the only way that it could be fully sustainable. So it's really cool, bro. I've read it and it's really cool. Any good movies or series apart from The Last Dance?
Not really that I've watched. I mean, The Last Dance I definitely recommend. But other than that, I'm trying to think, is there anything else we've watched? I just watched.
You've been busy with the clothes, huh? You've been busy with the clothes.
Yeah. I mean, I just recently watched a documentary on Jeffrey Epstein, which was like.
Oh, that's the one on Netflix.
Yeah, on Netflix. It's a bit upsetting, to be honest. Like.
Really.
Yeah, it's kind of sick. But it, I think it's kind of actually crazy. Like, as another talking point, I think it's kind of crazy how powerful of a voice Netflix is getting. It seems like every single thing they put out now gets like people, the Tiger King or whatever. No, the case could be reopened, or with with the Jeffrey Epstein, things are starting to come out now that I've been slid under the rug a little bit. So Netflix is like having a very powerful voice, to be honest.
To about stuff that we didn't really know about, and we didn't have information. What I found kind of crazy about Netflix and is that they made a documentary, like a series called like Pandemic or something. And then like a month after coronavirus happened, and I was like, wait, like what is happening here? Like, did they know about this? And then I feel like they had to say something about it, saying like, oh no, this has been recorded during 2019, like
true.
But it's actually crazy.
It's quite creepy. It's creepy.
I don't know, man. When I haven't watched the series, but when I saw the announcement, I was like, it doesn't make any sense. Like how it just feels like they know what we want to see before it even happens. And but I think it's so cool, because I watched like a few, like, have you watched Making a Murderer as well?
Yes.
Yeah, which like also reopened the cases.
Exactly.
And what I like about them is that they don't really side with anyone, like they always leave it like with the Carol Baskin stuff. And Joe Exotic. It's like they just throw the points from both sides, and they kind of let you choose whatever you want, right? And I think that is really cool. And they're a very powerful voice, and I think it's really cool. And like documentaries like the vegan stuff, information about their health that we didn't know about, and all the politics behind it is really cool, man. And just to end, because you just said now about like the whole being creative thing, you think that is what's gonna be for you after football. Whether that's only clothes or like focusing in other stuff. Because I know like you were very big into music as well.
Yeah. No,
like
I know 100% that's what's gonna be for me. You know, I like it's not like I found obviously right now in fashion, but I found like it's such a good escape sometimes to get away from football and soccer. Like obviously to have that other thing that you can focus on, and going back to the point of like humanizing football is like people don't realize you need an escape. If you're in a relationship with a woman or a man and you're together every single day for the rest of your life, you're probably going to end up hating that person. You know what I mean? I don't think
that's such a good analogy, bro.
I don't think any relationship can sustain when you're together all the time. You need breaks. You know what I mean? You need breaks from each other. It's not that you don't love the person, but I don't think we're meant to be with, you know, one thing.
You need your time, and you need to recharge, and now with like coronavirus, you haven't played football after 2 months, and the first training session is like the first day back at school.
Everybody's buzzing.
And you realize why do you love football so much? Exactly. You know, and it happened with my injury, and it happened with I'm sure like you, when you started playing again, the first time that you step on the pitch again, you're like, I love football, man. But sometimes 100%. You just need that break, and
you need a break.
And it's cool that, as you say, it's not just your break is not going to play PlayStation. Your break is actually creating stuff and being productive. And I feel everything that you're involved in the process like that is so healthy for you. And creating an art is just like healthy for everyone, right? And
100%,
so inspiring. So, bro, this has been so good, man. I'm very grateful for you to come in here. And it was a very cool chat, man. I'm sure like people are really gonna enjoy and all the things that you're doing behind the scenes, man. Keep it up.
Yes, you as well, bro. You as well.
Any help you need, also the fashion and stuff.
Yeah, bro. No, I'm here. I'm gonna hit you up about some. I'm gonna take you up. Yeah, my girl.
Teach me how to sew.
Yeah, I will do that. One day I got my sewing machine right here.
Yeah, and we'll come down one day.
I'll give you a couple of lessons, and then you guys can make me some vegan food and stuff.
Yes, 100%, bro. Anytime.
But yeah, bro, good luck with the rest of the season.
Thank you, bro.
Healthy, stay safe, and yeah, man, thank you so much for this, bro.
Yes, sir. I appreciate it, bro. Talk soon.
Take care, my man.
See you, bro. Man. Peace.
Bye.